What is up guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So in this video we're going to be using 5 tips to become better at top 11 in 2024. So let's get right into it. So the first tip that I want to give you guys is that you guys only want to be training your fast trainers, and only you want to be investing your greens, which are rests, into the fast trainers, because usually fast trainers are better players. So I'm going to be giving you guys an example from my squad over here. If you guys look at this player, this guy was an academy graduate. It came at 130%, but since he's a fast trainer, he gains about 20-22% per season regardless. Although I have not invested any of the rests in this guy, but you guys want to be seeing the stats. It is 22 matches played and 65 goals scored for the team in this season. 22 matches played and 50 goals scored for the team in this season in the league, and he's only 19 years old. He's also a fast trainer. So if I invest all of my greens into this guy is going to be playing for as long as I want, for like 10-20 seasons, which is around a year or more than that even. And he is going to be giving me some really good investment for my greens. Generally, the fast trainers are better players in my experience, although there can be players that are not fast trainers but are very good players. But generally, fast trainers are also very good players. I used to have a player that was a fast trainer, and he was a very good player, and I used to invest all of my greens into him, and he really did give me quite a lot of trophies and quite a lot of goals as well. So that is tip number one. You really want to be investing your greens in the fast trainers, because if you're not investing your greens in the fast trainers and you're investing your greens in normal players or players that are not wasting your greens, because that player is not going to be serving you for long, and for the while that he's going to be serving you, he's not going to be providing you with much of a value. He's not going to be giving you winning you games, and he's not going to be giving you the best goals for the rest invested in him. So the second tip that I want to give you guys is that once you're training your player, you only want to be training the white drills, and which is because once you start training only white drills, eventually over time, since you have a fast trainer, you're probably going to keep him for as long as possible. And eventually over time, his black skills will decrease and his performance will increase much more, because as long as the black skills or the gray skills are over there, it means the player is inexperienced. Once the player becomes quite experienced, the performance and the his performance in, let's say, Cup and Champions League really does improve, because in the game's point of view, the person becomes much more experienced. That is why the players that are 26, 27 years old or 25, 24 years old perform much better than academy graduates, 18, 19-year-olds, because the game considers those players experienced players, and the game does make them perform really better than the players that are not experienced. And that is why you want to be training only white skills, so that you can decrease the gray skills of your players as soon as possible and make them as experienced as possible in the point of view of the game, so that they start performing much better. Next, once you're training the drills, since we are on training, you want to be training the drills with respect to the 180-degree rule. So what that rule is, I've explained in the previous video with detail, but as for now, just know that each training that we perform, let's say we are performing pass, go and shoot, which increases passing, shooting and speed, it can only provide the skills with respect to 180 per drill per skill that it trains. So let's say it trains three skills, then that means that drill is supposedly to provide 540 skill points. And then we want to be adding passing, shooting, and speed skill points, which are 160, 168, 6, and 158 for each of these, then adding them and then subtracting them from 540, which would be 180 multiplied by 3. And we want to be subtracting these, and then we will have a value of the skills that can be trained for that player further through that training drill. If they're quite low, then we want to be changing the training drill so that we can get better value for our rest and train our players much more in the skills with the training drill that is the most effective to them. I have explained this concept in the previous video. You guys can go ahead and check if you like. But that is the third tip. So the next tip that I want to be giving you guys is that you guys want to be keeping your players for longer. So what happens when you keep your players longer is that, as you can see, this guy is not the best of the quality. He's 60% in the value, right? But if you look at his skills, his gray skills are quite low. Whereas if you look at one of the goalkeepers that I bought 2 seasons ago, his white gray scales are almost non-existent. They're all at 1%, and the next year, next season, he's gonna be a mutant. I'm gonna be training his white scales, and then he's gonna be a mutant, and he will be performing really better. This guy was on bench for 2, 3 seasons. Now he's a mutant. Now I'm gonna be training him, and I'm gonna be including him in my squad as soon as possible. What happens with that is that as your gray scales go down in value, the game starts considering your players as more experienced. So if you keep on playing with one team for, let's say, 5, 6, 7 seasons, what happens is that you will start winning matches, you will start winning games regardless, because you will have a couple of mutants in there, or maybe more than that, if you play 5, 6, 7 seasons with the same team without improving the team with new players. So the game will start considering your team as a skilled team, as an experienced team. Your performances in Cup and Champions League will also improve, whereas your performances in League will definitely improve as well. So throughout the time when your gray skills decrease, the game starts considering your players more experienced. So that is why you want to be keeping your players for as long as possible. So as you can see, I have played 2, 3 seasons with this team, and now all of them are approaching mutant stage in like 2 or 3 seasons more, and then the performance of the team will drastically increase. So that is why you want to be keeping your players for longer. The other thing that I want you guys to understand is that once you are training a new role for a player, it will affect the quality of the player, because what happens is that, let's say for this player, there's quite a few gray skills which, when gone down, will definitely allow your player to increase the white skills much more. So you can take quite a lot of your white skills above 200 once all the gray skills are gone to 0 or 1%. But let's say if we have a player that has so many white skills that his gray skills are very few, then you do not have the margin to increase your white skills much higher than the gray skills, and maybe not even cross 200 for those skills. So what happens then is that your player will not be able to perform as good as possible, because then the average gets almost destroyed. And once you train a new skill for a player, then it unlocks many more white skills which are lagging behind. Then you have to train those, and those skills are not gonna provide any margin for your player to increase the specialized skill, let's say finishing or shooting, to take them above 200 and make your player a very skilled goal scorer. So you do not want to be training the new roles that are not of any use, but rather would destroy your player's performance. So the last tip that I want to give you guys is that when you guys are training a new role, you guys do not want to be mixing up the offense and defense. So let's say a very bad example of how you want to be training your roles would be like this guy over here, ML, DL, and DC. So this is even considerably okayish. But if there was a guy that was an ML, DL, and an AML, then that would have been absolutely terrible. Since we are mixing the offense and defense, it will open up so many wide skills for the player that it is almost going to be very impossible for making that player experienced and training the wide skills about 200, 180%, so that that guy becomes of any good use. So you do not want to be mixing up the offense and defense while training new skills. So let's say you can train a player like, AML, ST, and AMR, because he's all only focused on the offense, or you can train a player with the DLDC and the DMC, which are all always uh, you know focused on the defense. Or for the middle field, you can train players like MCMR in together. But you do not want to be training or mixing up the offense and defense of your team in a single player, because that player will become useless. So that is it for the video, guys. I hope you guys get any help from these tips. Until next time, peace out.